Hello everyone. Today I am going to show you my IoT based home automation project which I have done under the internship of the Emertxe. So my name is Chandra Teja. I am from the EC department of Vignan Institute of Technology and Science, the Guntur district of Andhra Pradesh. And what I learned about my project is C programming, Internet of Things, embedded system, and several other softwares while interfacing them. Now coming to the C programming, I have first learned about the numbering systems, which are basics like the binary conversions, like decimal to hexadecimal. And coming to the data types, uh, they covered maximum of the data types like integer, character, float, double, and several other data types. And integer consists of 1 byte or 2 bytes, character 1, float 4, and double 8. And the operators, coming to the operators which are required in the home automation projects, are like the arithmetic, logical, bitwise, are the operators like plus, minus, and logical, like logical and logical or logical not, bitwise, like, and so on, those operators. And the conditional constructs are like the decision making and the looping statements like if else, switch case, and while and do while. And several other conditional constructs are also mentioned by them like break and continue. And the arrays are like the collection of elements of the same data type. There are different types of arrays like 1D and two-dimensional arrays. So there are different types of arrays, like they are used only for the subscripts like rows and columns. And the pointers like call by value and call by address. uh, Basically, pointer is a variable which holds the address of another variable. Like a star is used to mention. And like those call by value and call by address, in which the call by value calls the variables, and the call by address means that calls the address of another variable, like the pointers which can be used as the data type, uh, which can be used as the variables. So these pointers will carry the value of those certain variables, like if a is equal to 10, the it can be called as a function by the another variable, by the same, with the same data type, as a local variables, like thus strings, like string is like store text and characters terminated with slash o. And the functions and recursions are like the function is a group of statements that performs the task, like the function call and everything. Recursions are used to that calls itself. And the storage classes like the static, extern, register, and int, automatic, are global to the task. Like statically assigns the value to the memory, and statistically, like register values will be like registering the value of the certain storage classes. And the external data types are external global to the extent for the scope, and which those elements are stored. And there are like C++ and they mentioned like C++ basics and the pillars. Like C++ is the pillars of C. They told about the class and the objects, and the pillars is like the of object oriented programming are the abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. In the abstraction, they have shown about hiding details of our necessary info, and inheritance is nothing like the inheriting the superclass from the subclass. Uh, and encapsulation is like binding together the data and the functions that are used to manipulate. And coming to the constructors and the destructure, the constructors are used to initialize the state of an object, and while the destructors are and the destructors are used for the special memory functions of classes that are used to construct and destroy the class objects. Like those two functions are used. And coming to the embedded system is electromechanical system and is used to perform the both hardware and software design functions. And every embedded system will be unique as the interfaces like uh, the type of interfacing, and it has several other components like sensors, actuators, timers, memory, and several other things like application domain specific and daily specific. There are several applications for the embedded systems, like we can use them in the household, home automation, and automotives and medical, like those sort of things. Like general components like microprocessors and controllers, system on chips and are used. We used for this project is the Arduino Uno. So the overview of the embedded system is like sensors that are used for sensing, and uh, for interfacing it with the microcontrollers. We are used for the conversion like analog to digital conversions, and the memory will be stored in the process of RAM and ROM, or system on chips, and the output will be gone to the actuators, which are like LEDs, buzzers, and the sensors like temperature sensor, light LDR sensor, like those things. And which are mentioned in here. And the Internet of Things that are used for the physical objects that can embedded with the Wi-Fi to the several other objects or devices throughout the certain range. Like wireless, we have examples like Zigbee, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. Like we can interface them with this type of things like the examples like the fans or the water controls are the basic examples of this Internet of Things, which are used for the connecting of the interacting with internal states of the things. And coming to the to my project is used for the suitable components that are required for interfacing, like the Arduino Uno, Pixel Simulator, Blink IoT app, virtual serial ports. Arduino Uno for used for the coding and all those sort of things. PixSimLab we are used for the interfacing of the objects or components. Blink IoT app used for the virtually uh, like assigning them the pins, buttons, widgets, like those sort of things. Virtual serial ports are virtually connecting the ports between these among these three. In this project we are used like the garden lights water control, temperature control. Lights is like the LDR sensor that was controlled by, in which the LDR sensor, if detects the uh, light that which is diminishing, like eventually which is going down, the light of the sunlight or anything, it will, the resistivity will be turned on, and the LED will be turned on in the garden lights. So this is the garden lights. So the water control is like the, if the water level exceeds the level like the 2000 liters, suddenly we have kept the tank size of 3000, and if it exceeds the 2000 liters, it will eventually decrease. Like we will receive a notification to the blynk IoT app, and we can turn off the uh, virtual simulation project of the ultra water control sensor. And coming to the temperature control, if the temperature exceeds the 35 degrees Celsius, then the heater will be turned off, and the room will be cooled down to the room temperature like 25, 26, like those. So everything we will be received like the notifications through this blynk app. And the Arduino Uno's, the LDR sensor, it is a garden lights. LDR sensor gives information to the Arduino. Arduino sends to the memory, and to the actuators we discussed about, like the lights, LEDs and buffer, and like those. So it will be stored in the software cloud. So the garden lights will be like the 0 to 5 volts, like the resistivity that it can be hold. And the temperature control sensor is like the LM35 we are using in this. So in this temperature control, if it exceeds the 35 degrees Celsius, if we can turn off the heater and can turn on the cooler. And the sensor sensitivity is like 10 millivolts or degrees. Which can be controlled by on and off the IoT app. Here we can see like the CLCD, it is used as a dashboard for the checking of all the comments that we are using in the blynk IoT app virtually. So it passes the temperature from the temperature system to the Arduino, and the Arduino will circulate among itself and gives the temperatures that will be shown to our blynk IoT app through the notification, and the CLCD will be displayed at the same time. So the we can use the commands like heater or cooler uh, to send the commands to the Arduino, and it will circulate itself and goes to the temperature system. Through everything is done through the mobile app with the notifications. And coming to the water control system, the serial remote tank simulator red and the volume of water will be displayed through the CLCD with a interly integrated circuit I2C bus we are using. The inlet valves and the outlets valves, all of them will be used. If the exceeds the 2000 liters, the Arduino will send the notifications and the volume of water to the blynk IoT app. So we will receive the notifications through the app. And the inlet and valve and the outlet valve control will be like uh, letting the inlet and closing the outlet, like operating the inlet and the outlet of the valves. And we'll have sensors in the uh, serial tank. So this is the inlet valve and this is the outlet valve. This is low float, which we are used for the sensoring of the application, and this is the high float. So the water comes like this, and if it exceeds the this touches this high float value, the eventually the inlet valve will be stopped working. So while we will receive the notification, and we will turn off the inlet valve, and we will turn on the outlet valve at the same time. This is what happens in here. And these are the spare parts that we have used in the project so far. Like this is, I mentioned, the temperature sensor, and this is the remote tank. This is the CLCD used as a dashboard. And this is the LDR sensors which are used for the garden lights control. This LED will be turned on if it receives the information that which is not limiting the resistivity. It is automatically adjusted by itself, and this temperature sensor will be rotated if it has a centigrade of 35 degrees Celsius. Now it's 27. So we can look into these parts in here, and the blynk app will be used for controlling the cereal tank and temperature sensor with the form of the CLCD with the which is used in the Pixim like software with the Arduino IDE. We can control with this the mobile app, like owning and offing the inlet valves and heater and the cooler. We can see the temperature what the temperature sensor had detected, and we'll get the notifications in here. So giving the commands in here. So the conclusion is like, later discuss this conclusion. And coming to the coding, here we have used the Ethernet and the LCD displays and temperature sensors and all of these things. Here we are used to simulate in the Arduino the whole code, and this is used as the Pixim Lab software. So in which we can use to interface with the coding and with the ports. Here we come connected to the communication second port with the help of the virtual ports application. So this is a type of the LDR sensor in which we have received the high resistance, the light will be turned off, and which we have received the low resistance, the light will be turned on. The impact of the sunlight will fall on this sensor, and this LCD, which we can command it using our software. So I'm going to show you about my IoT app. So now turn it on the inlet valve. So the water is increasing. Now we are seeing the remote tank and it exceeds. So now I'm turning off the inlet valve and turning off the inlet valve. So after completing, we are watching about this. We are watching about this temperature sensor. So now the temperature is 27 degrees Celsius. I'm turning on the heater. So now it exceeds like to the 35 degrees Celsius. So we have received a notification that the temperature is above 35 degrees. So now we are turning off and turning on the cooler. So here we can see that in the mobile app it has slowly decreased it to the 27 degrees centigrade, and that is this process. And coming to the internship, uh, have completed about the even the Disha workshop, which can be used for what happens if we take this software like IoT projects. So like these things are can be used and so this is the project that I have demonstrated with the help of the Emertxe IoT internship program by successfully completing it. And thank you for that Emertxe team for making this possible. Thank you, sir.